What's good, everybody? It is a Super Triple JT here, and I started getting a couple comments from you guys about anything that you want to see from Saints Row. I asked in the community tab, what do you guys want to see in the following Saints Row? So I'm kind of gonna respond to some of your comments and give you my 2 cents and see if I actually would like to see that in the future titles or not. So let's start off with the first comment. I love the storytelling in Saints Row 1 and 2, but the mechanics and story progression was so much easier in Saints Row 3 and 4. I hate having to do activities to get my respect meter up, when all I want to do is play the story. That's the only gripe I had with the first 2 games. 3 would have been better if they had Johnny's death later in the game, especially since 3 was a lot of people's first game in the series. It was for me. So you don't really have the emotional attachment. I'm glad I went and got the first 2 games and played them through. The second one I will play over and over again, if it weren't for the respect meter. I'd be interested to see what direction 5 will take us in, but I don't expect we'll have to retcon ending from Get Out of Hell, since Agents of Mayhem covered that. Instead, we'd more likely get the New World ending. It has the most potential for a full game and continuing with the series. If we don't get a sequel, then we might get something between games 2 and 3, to see how the Saints' rose to power will alter, and see how the characters had developed during the timeline. Borderlands 2 comes to mind with Handsome Jack. Also, I would love to see more in-depth romance system. It's about time Boss and Johnny got together. So I see where you're coming from. I also agree with, not to have the respect meter come back in any means. I did not like that in the Saints Row games. So I'm kind of hoping they don't bring that back. It won't bother me, but I really wish they wouldn't do that. But I understand where you're coming from. And I also see that they probably would not reference Saints Row 4, Get Out of Hell, or even Agents of Mayhem for obvious reasons alone. So we might get a hint or something. I highly doubt we're going to go to space again or like find a new planet. I think it's going to be some kind of soft reboot where they might just continue off some point in the game's timeline and just make a split timeline. I'm not sure. Or it could just be a full-on reboot. I am not 100% sure, but most likely not. I wouldn't say they're gonna completely reset the series, or go back to space, new planets and stuff like that. It's basically would have been a new series at this point. So I don't believe something like this might happen, but I could be wrong. Also, the romance feature. Okay, so the romance feature in Saints Row 4 was mostly just a parody of Mass Effect, but I like to see a romance feature in Saints Row, but because this is not an RPG, I don't know how it will work in this type of game, but I like to see that. It would be kind of interesting to see something like that. What they could do is that in 5, basically they wake up the boss and says that he had a crazy gas dream with him having powers and everything and going to a place called Steelport. Then they can continue the story right where they left on the 2. But the problem is that in the ending of Saints Row 4, they finished the game with a cliffhanger where they introduced a new character named Jane Austen, and she says that how I met the Saints, but I'm sure they could work something around that by just making everything look normal. Because trust, even though I love GTA, Saints Row has potential that even GTA doesn't have. They have the power to make a great game by just being normal and not having the game looking like a parody of something, because the game, again, is, and could be legendary. So a lot of people have been saying that they could just retcon 3 and 4 by just having a dream, a movie, or whatever the case may be. And even though a lot of people do not want 3 and 4 to be canon anymore, I think this is kind of dumb story-wise, because even though it is a easy way to retcon 3 and 4 just by saying it was a dream, I don't think people would be happy, especially because there was a new generation of fans that started from 3 and 4 and they never even played 1 nor 2. So I don't think a lot of people will be happy for that. There has to be some kind of balance that will keep old fans happy and new fans happy, but just saying that the boss woke up from a dream will be kind of weird. And anything related to Saints Row 4 and their cliffhanger, I mean, they basically try to retcon Saints Row 4 by having Agents of Mayhem and saying that none of that even happened, and this is a whole new world and whatever. So they try to retcon the entire Saints Row franchise. It didn't work out, and that's why we're getting another Saints Row game. So I don't know what they're gonna do with this series, but just their storytelling or just retconning this entire series is not really a good way to continue off. They have to find some kind of fair and balanced way to continue the series. I don't know, the story could be time travel, cause the president has the Zinyak ship. He could recreate the Earth and rewrite history. So I'll keep it 100 with you. I do not want to see time travel in this series. I know it got introduced in Saints Row 4, but I highly doubt that they'll ever make a game with time travel. They show some concept art in the credits of Saints Row 4, but I highly doubt they're going to go that route. That just sounds even too ridiculous to this point where this is not even Saints Row anymore. And people already made that point by introducing powers, but might as well just make a whole new franchise if we're going to add time traveling. I don't need the boss and Johnny Gat being Doc Brown and Marty McFly. It does not need to happen right now. And going to the part where they're rewriting history, yeah, that sounds kind of iffy as well. If they even attempt to do that, it's the only for they could bring back the Earth. Nothing more, nothing less. And they probably will not even reference it after that point. So it doesn't sound like something Volition would do. But then again, we didn't think that superpower was going to be in a Saints Row game. So anything could happen at this point. I feel like erasing the events of Saints Row 4 and going off Saints Row 3 would be good. Erasing the events of Saints Row 4 sounds kind of iffy at that too, just because it's going to be hard to just retcon Saints Row 4 and just not acknowledge that game whatsoever. There are going to be a lot of fans that are going to be really pissed about that, because people do enjoy Saints Row 4. So just saying, yeah, that game never happened, or just never acknowledging it, it's going to be kind of iffy. I don't think that would be a smart idea whatsoever. It needs to go back to its roots with the design being like Saints Row 1 and 2, but with the humor / series and urban hip-hop ghetto gangster shit. But everyone don't need to look like each other like in Saints Row 2, but the designs do need to be like Saints Row 2. We need them banger songs back in the clubs and not that electronic music. We need them hood voice actors back, and it needs to be more grounded with drugs. Hoes, flashing cars, bigger cities, and bigger. And I wish they keep it that way. But for the new Saints Row fans with that wacky version of its day and age, if they want to add aliens, superpowers, and all that outer space, they need to have that as a minor activity that has nothing to do with the story. We need an old urban Saints Row days back, and we need to find some type of way to remind Volition what we want in the game. They're creators after all. I love this idea. I love every part about this idea, to having bigger cities, more hoes, more flashing cars and stuff like that. And even acknowledging a little bit of the newer fans to have one activity that basically attracts them and might get them into this, Saints Row series game, or Saints Row 5 or whatever it is. I love everything about this. This is actually, something that's very smart that could attract a lot of people. And to add at that, I think it's going to be a perfect time for them to release it, especially because there's no competition out. Something like this, I think, is what people really need right now. So I really love this idea. This sounds something that is possible to happen, but we don't know yet, and we don't know anything about this game. So I really love this idea. I believe they'll make a new Saints Row, a remake of Part 1. I can guarantee you that 5 will not be like Part 4 with all the superhero stuff. So making a new Saints Row game sounds very likely, especially because it's been so long since, the last Saints Row game. But remaking Part 1, that's something I really want too, because that's only been a 360 exclusive. So if you were PS3, PC, even Nintendo, you didn't get a chance to play Saints Row 1. So I would like to see that game being remade for a new audience that didn't even get a chance to beat this game at all. And guaranteeing that it won't be like Saints Row 4, maybe that's true. Maybe we would not even go back to superpowers anymore. I'm kind of 80-20 on this. I believe we're not going back to superpowers, but it still has that little option, especially because Agents of Mayhem had some kind of superpowers. Not as much, but it kind of did. So I'm not sure yet, but I'm 80-20 on that for sure. Saints Row 5 must go back to the classic roots that it made it so loved. I played Saints Row 2, and that was the peak of the time, and hell, I preferred that to GTA 4 at the time. But with Volition back, I think they would take the time to go back and see what was the most loved Saints Row, and that is the number 2 by far. I'm optimistic and open-minded to many things, and I have faith in number 5 now being back with Volition. However, there's a chance that they make a sequel that goes absolutely stupid with the setting on a different planet and such, which of course is the last thing we want as fans of Saints Row. Saints Row has always been about gangsters and gang wars, not stupid over the top powers and flying around like a damn superhero. So I'm so hoping that Saints Row 5 goes back to Stillwater or make Saints Row 4 not canon and go from there. Here's another comment that's saying that they want to go back to the roots and retcon Saints Row 4. And like I said earlier, that's kind of iffy for retconning Saints Row 4 because it's going to get a lot of people angry. If you're just going to not acknowledge Saints Row 4, then more people will be like, then do not acknowledge Saints Row 3, or that's not fair. We love Saints Row 4. Just reboot the entire franchise. So they had to do something that could make it work. I'm not a writer, so I don't know what they could do, but retconning 4 sounds kind of iffy. But I do agree that we need to go back to the gangster roots of the game. But good on you, man. You're gonna have some faith. I have faith on Relation 2 that we might get a good Saints Row game. So tell me in the comments down below if y'all's wish list. I could make another one of these very soon. How you guys want Saints Row 5 to be? Do you want to be action packed, super powered, or you want to go back to, you know, a more calmer gangster game? So tell me in the comments down below. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I'm out. Deuces.